Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Talking Cardboard. My name is Corey, and in today's episode I'm going through my top 10 favorite games that were new to me in 2025. Let's get started. That's right, and like I said, in today's video, I'm going through my favorite games that I have played this year in 2025. And again, these top 10 games are not new to 2025, they are just games that are new to me. So let's get started here with number 10. Number 10 is SETI, The Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. This game has really hit the board game scene by storm, and I really enjoy it. As you can see here, my rating so far after a few plays is 8 out of 10. I could see that rising. I really do like the game a lot. Essentially what you're doing is you are exploring space and trying to get points in various ways. What I really like about it is the action system is so clean, so sleek. There's not a ton of actions you can do, so it's really simplified in that way. But what adds the complexity to this game is that there are just a ton of different cards. I am reading down here, it looks like 200 cards, over 200 cards in the game that make your actions interesting. They are multi-use cards. You can do many things with each of the cards that help kind of boost or change the actions that you can do. But like I said, essentially you are just exploring space, trying to discover new things, send out probes, and get victory points in various ways. And then the other really cool thing with this game too is that closer to like the middle to mid-end game, you are discovering different alien races that are in the outskirts of space, way out there. And as you uncover and discover these alien races, each alien race is asymmetric. That gives you different ways to score more victory points. So the game really gets turned on its head about halfway through the game with new, unique ways to score victory points. So you're kind of doing the basic probe and discover and try to do kind of the same thing throughout the first half of the game, but as you discover those new alien races, it gets real interesting with just multiple different ways to score victory points. So that's my number 10, SETI. Now moving to my number 9 is Stone Spine Architects, and this game, 8 out of 10 here again, a fantastic game and one that really surprised me. I have not really been too familiar with the Stone Spine universe or whatever that universe is called other than playing Role Player. I really enjoy the game Role Player, so Stone Spine Architects is set in that same universe. Essentially what this game is a drafting game where I forgot to click on photos for SETI, but we'll start doing it here. A drafting game where you're drafting these different cards and laying them out in front of you to try to build your own dungeon. And pretty much what it boils down to is that these different rooms in the dungeon, you're trying to connect them to get victory points. You're also trying to match up different icons or different creatures to get victory points that way. There are asymmetric goals that you're going after. There are some goals that you claim them before your opponents claim them to get victory points for that. And it's just really fun to play around with building your own dungeon to try to get points in various ways. And it's just really cool. Like as you can see here, this card is a card that you'd get at the beginning of the game that says where if you can start your dungeon at this point and end your dungeon on the bottom point there, and then also have the different creatures or different room types in those exact locations, you score bonus points for that. So pretty much this game just boils down to a strategic puzzle that you're trying to build the best puzzle and create the best dungeon you can versus your opponents. So really appreciate the simplicity and the puzzle-like nature to this game a lot. So now moving into my number 8 game, it is Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, a lot of fun. A quick fun fact, we do host our own Talking Cardboard room at Con of the North every year. And Con of the North is a local convention in the St. Paul, Minneapolis, Minnesota area that we host our own room every year. We have designers, publishers, game players visit our room throughout the convention. And this is actually one that I signed up a ticket for to play in a different room. So I was taught the game by people that have been playing the game for over 20 years now. They did a fantastic job teaching the game because there's a lot of little things going on in it. But after a couple turns, it really came as quite simple. It wasn't as complex as I thought it would be. In Puerto Rico, you are just essentially trying to build your own farm with different resources, build your own buildings on them. The buildings and resources will generate victory points for you. It's really cool here. As you can see, the pieces on these tiles, you are drafting which tile you'd like for your turn, and that's what action you can do with that tile. And if you are the player to choose that tile, you get a bonus action with that. All the other opponents around the table can still use that action for the tile you chose, but you get a bonus, more enhanced action with that tile. So the drafting of the action tiles is really fun, trying to get to a tile, you know, first in line. Turn order is a big deal in this game as well, because if you can get that action before your opponents or claim that action, you get a bonus with that. And like I said, here's some buildings, for example, that will get you various victory points in different ways. There are also boats in this game that you are shipping goods off to, which is another really unique, cool mechanism that I don't see done in a lot of games. I don't know if they'll have a photo of it here or not, but essentially, oh, here's the boat. So on the same tile here. So these boats up in the top left, you are shipping goods to, but only one type of good can be on each boat. So as soon as somebody puts a good of a certain type on the boat, only that type of good can go and be shipped off on that boat. So you can really try to block out or box out your opponents if you can see that they're not really gathering the same type of resource to be shipped that you are. You can try to fill up those boats and kind of box them up from even being able to ship off goods to get points. And as soon as that boat reaches full capacity, it automatically ships out the goods, and you're getting points. You're getting these gold coins here as well, and it's just a really fun economic game that plays very smooth. It plays on the longer side. I want to say it took us a good 2.5 hours to play the game, if not a little bit longer. But there are a lot of first-time players playing at the table here. But I can really see how this game shines after the full complement of players know what they're doing. It's a ton of fun drafting those actions and trying to box out your opponents out of sending out the resources that maybe you can and they can't. And it's just a really cool dynamic of a game, and really like it a lot. So that is Puerto Rico. Now moving on to my number 7, Endeavor Deep Sea. I gave this one an 8 out of 10 so far as well. I have played the cooperative version and the competitive version of this game, and I do have to say I did not really like the cooperative play in this game very much at all, but the competitive is really fun. Another game where you are trying to get a bunch of points. It's a Euro game through and through, but it has a great theme tacked onto it as well, where you are deep sea explorers. Each round, essentially, you are getting a new employee tile to place in front of you. Those tiles will give you different actions depending on what employees you hire to be onto your team. You have these action discs here, as you can see in the picture. The white player has the white action discs, and that is how you place a disc onto an action tile to do an action. You have these different tracks. You've got the red, green, yellow, blue that do various things for you as well. For example, the blue track, the further you get up on that, you can start claiming more subs to navigate around the board. It also tells you how far you can move your sub along. Some of the other tracks help you get more upgraded employees on your team, so you get better and better actions. And this is just a game where you're trying to get points in various ways, like in most Euro games. But I really appreciate how smooth this game plays and how simple of a game it really is for how complex it may first appear. You have journal cards, which showing in this picture here, that give you unique actions and also give your opponents some actions on the card too. So you're trying to claim those before your opponents to try to give you the action that will help you out the most at that time. And let's see if I can get a good shot of the board here. Like, here's a tile. You can actually dive deeper and deeper if you have an upgraded sub that can dive deep enough. And each time you explore, and you're exploring these tiles into the depths, it'll give you better and better actions and better things to do and more ways to score points. So a ton of fun recruiting unique tiles to do various actions, exploring around the board, doing conservation efforts to get points. You're also trying to write in the journal to get various points. And the exploration is really fun to see what kind of unique tile will pop up. As you can see in this photo here, there are different stacks of tiles depending on how deep you are diving with your sub. So those will give you variability in every gameplay as well. So here's kind of a look at the main board here with everything going on. And as you can see, it looks really gorgeous as you play as well. The art is fantastic. The sense of exploration and building out the ocean and just essentially trying to race to these different tiles ahead of your opponents to try to squeeze out the most amount of points you can before your opponents can do that back to you. So that is Endeavor Deep Sea. Not too much else to say about it, but one that I will say it wasn't as fun with the first play. And like I said, the first time I played was cooperative, but then as soon as we started playing in the competitive version of this game, it just really sung for me. I really, really liked it a lot. So that is Endeavor Deep Sea. All right, now moving on to my number 6 game that I've played this year, and this one really, really surprised me. If some of the other games that I'd mentioned before hadn't surprised me enough, this one really came out of left field. This is a game I don't own. Actually, Nick from Talking Cardboard owns this game, and it's typically not my style of game at all. But the story is really cool in Stars of Ikarios, and the actions are fun to pull off. It's a fully cooperative campaign-style game that I'm just having a lot of fun with it, and there's a lot of sense of discovery. There's different missions do different things. There are space battles and land exploration as well. So we've dived into enough games of that to be able to experience both. The best way I can describe the gameplay in Stars of Ikarios in the space battle, for example, it feels like a cooperative version of Star Wars X-Wing. It's really tactical. It's really cool. You are using dice on your main board. See if I can pull up a photo of that. But you're using dice on your main action board to do different actions, to fly your ships around the map. You're also using dice to attack the opposing ships. And like I said, the story is unfolding. It's been a lot of fun. And also there, like I said, are some scenarios where you are actually getting off onto like a moon or a different planet, getting off of your ship, walking around. And I don't want to spoil too much, but it's really fun how the mechanisms work with the dice while you're on land as well, because you're doing success checks to see if you can break down doors or walk around space stations or walk around the planet and try to discover new items or interact with different things on the map as well. So it's a very immersive game, very thematic, more of an Ameritrash style game, so it's not typically my style, but I will have to say that this game does it so well with the tactical nature of it and the actions nature of it all. You really feel like you're in control of what you're doing, and I will say this is kind of like a puzzle game in itself as well, because you are trying to utilize the action dice the best you can before time runs out or before those alien ships take you down. So you're trying to puzzle out the best moves of which ship is flying around over here and which ships are taking the other side, and trying to loop back around and get behind the opposing ships to take them down faster and get more critical hits and stuff like that. So it's been a ton of fun to play, and like I said, one that really surprised me. Not my typical style of game that I typically gravitate to, so I was very hesitant to try this out with the crew, but having a lot of fun with it so far. Can't really say too much else about it without spoiling anything, but it's just very fun. Dice, action selection, fly around the map and try to take down the opposing ships style of game. So that is Stars of Ikarios. All right, now moving into my number 5. It's another space game, but this one is very Eurocentric, and as you can see here, it re-implements Dwellings of Eldervale. Dwellings of Eldervale was a game I really liked, and Andromeda's Edge just capitalizes off of what was so great about Dwellings and just makes it even that much better. Andromeda's Edge is a massive table hog. As you can see here, there is a lot going on, but there is a lot to like in this game. Boiled down simply, in a simple explanation, it is kind of a worker placement game where you're sending out, essentially your workers are your ships, so you're sending your ships to different locations on the main board to do actions on the main board. You're trying to convert different resources into different things, trying to upgrade your ships to do better actions. There are also you can get into battles with your opponent or battles with some AI figures that are on the board as well that throw a loop into everything. You've got these cool technology cards that you're building out throughout the game that give you better and better cascading actions that, once you take one of them, it could cascade into a multiple kind of combo effect of actions. Like I said, if you've played Dwellings of Eldervale before, it's very similar, but it just, some of the rules got tweaked. The space theme doesn't hurt it either, but the rules that they tweaked in this version of the game really make it that much more fun to play. There's a little bit more player agency, a little bit more control over what you're doing, and some mitigation. And then the technology cards, as you can see here, are just a ton of fun to try to upgrade your technologies to become a more unique player compared to the other players at the table. So that is Andromeda's Edge. Alright, and now moving into my number 4 game. It is a very different game than any other game I've talked about, and that is the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game. This is a ton of fun. It's a cooperative trick-taking game, kind of like The Crew or The Crew Mission Deep Sea, that style of game. But what I really like about the Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, obviously the theme doesn't hurt it. The theme really pours through in this game. For a trick-taking game, you wouldn't think theme and trick-taking would really go hand in hand, but in this game it does. And to put it simply, at the beginning of every round, there's different missions that you're going through. The missions get harder and more complex as you play through it, but every player at the start of the game gets a unique character, and that specific character is giving you a unique win condition, and all of your cooperative teammates have their own win condition, and you're trying to play cards in trick-taking fashion to try to have everybody complete their mission card or their character card before the cards run out. So if everybody doesn't complete their mission, you lose the mission. You can just restart it, play it again, but it really turns trick-taking on its head for me. I've really enjoyed a lot of cooperative trick-taking games, which is kind of funny to say for me because I'm not really a huge fan of trick-taking, but this one is just a ton of fun. It really feels like you're playing through the Fellowship of the Ring, and the cooperative nature of it is really unique as well. So highly recommend the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game. All right, now moving into my number 3 favorite game I've played this year, and this one just hit us by storm. The Talking Cardboard crew loves the heck out of this game. As you can see here on BGG, I gave this game a 9 out of 10 so far. That ranking could climb up. I want to say there are, like 66 different missions or something like that in this game, and each mission gets more complicated and more difficult as you play, but you can play the same missions over and over again. You can pick which missions you like best and just play it multiple times. They never get old. In Bomb Busters, I'm sure most of you have already heard of this game and what it entails, but essentially you have wire tiles in front of you that nobody else can see. Only you can see what numbers those tiles are, and you are trying to cut the same wires at the same time, or the same number on the wire, with your teammates blindly. And you've got these action cards that give you specific actions to try to help you out with that, but pretty much it boils down to just, hey, you know, I think that wire over there is a number 4. I've got a number 4. Let's cut this together and see what happens. If you are incorrect, then this ticker, this little dial here in this photo, ticks down closer to the bomb blowing up. And if you have enough incorrect answers, you lose the game that way. But like I said, the missions get really unique and really fun in this game, and just add some variability every time we play, and it doesn't get old. Sounds super simple. It is super simple, but don't let the simplicity fool you with how great of a time you can have with this game. And I would say the first maybe 3-4 times you play the game, as you're getting more used to how it works, it isn't as fun, but as you become more familiar with how the game is played, the style of play, you can start to kind of metagame things a little bit and kind of know what you're looking for, and little cues or little tells. You know, technically you can't give anybody hints or anything like that, but as you play the game more, you just start to learn the nuances in the game, and it becomes more and more fun each and every play. So that is Bomb Busters. All right, and my number 2 game is no surprise to anybody. I loved the first edition of this game and even loved the Legendary Edition even more, and that is Cyclades, the Legendary Edition specifically. Essentially what the Legendary Edition did is it took some of the elements from the expansions from the first edition of the game and kind of picked and chose the best things from each expansion and threw it all into one box. So can't say enough great things about it. As you can see here, my BGG rating that I gave is a 9.5 out of 10. It's almost a perfect game for me. I really enjoy it that much. Looking at some of the photos here, I'll pull up this so you can kind of see what's going on. But as you can see, there's a bunch of monsters and creatures and characters. There's warriors and ships, and there's just a whole lot going on. But pretty much what you're trying to do is you're trying to claim and take hold of 3 metropolises by the end of the game. And you're doing that in the style of bidding for actions. I really, really like the bid for actions economy in this game. Let's see if I can pull it up. So here you go, in the photo here, you can see that there are different gods that you are bidding for actions. Each god provides you with a different action, whether it be bolster more warriors or move them around the map, or gain more ships and move your ships around the map. Build structures of different types. After you get enough of different types of structures, you can combine them into metropolis, and once you take hold of that metropolis, if you have 3 of them, that is how you win the game. But the creatures add so much variability. You can actually purchase creatures to be on your team to give you special abilities, And like I said, it pretty much just boils down to my favorite thing I like in the game is the blind bidding. Everybody has their own player screen, as you can see in this photo, that they're hiding their coins behind, so you don't know what actions people could even afford to bid with, because you can't bid on an action if you can't afford to do it. So you're blind bidding on what action you think would help you out the best, and if somebody outbids you, your token gets pushed back to your side, and then you have to bid on a different action, and you're just going back and forth until everybody has claimed an action due for that round. And the actions, like I said, are very, very simple, very smooth playing. Not a ton really going on with the actions, but that blind bidding really makes it interesting, and vying for control over the different areas on the map make it very interesting as well. And there's an economy system too, where you are taking control of zones that'll give you more income from round to round, so then you have more bidding power over your opponents that way, and just so many great things going on with Cyclades. So that is my number 2, Cyclades Legendary Edition. And finally, my number 1 favorite game that I've played so far this year is, well, it's Civolution. Civolution, one of, if not Stefan Feld's newest game. And if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I am a Stefan Feld fanboy. I like most of the games that he comes out with, and this design is obviously no exception. So far, giving this a 9.5 out of 10 as well. Almost a perfect game. I think the only thing holding it back from a 10 for me would be that the setup and teardown, it's nice the way they have tuck boxes and they have everything packaged. So the setup and teardown isn't terrible, but there are a lot of moving parts to this game. There's a lot of bookkeeping in this game, knowing which phase happens when, and then we do this, and then you do that, and there's just a lot of moving parts to the different phases and different actions in this game. So that kind of holds it back from being a 10 for me. It's definitely a harder game to get to the table because of that. But if you find players that have played the game before to sit down at the table and play it with you, then this game just sings. It just shines. It shines so well. In this game, it's just a sandbox of variability. There's so many different things to discover, so many different regions, as you can see here on the map, that you are trying to do various actions with dice, that you are trying to explore and exploit and get resources, get victory points in different ways. There are goals at the beginning of every round that you're trying to capitalize on and get victory points in that way. As you can see here, here's a little shot of the player board. You are rolling dice on the beginning of your turn, and then on your turn you can use 2 dice to place on one of the action spots to do an action with. And let's see if I can find a good shot of the player board here, but there are just so many different actions that you can do. Here's a shot here, as you can see in the photo, a bunch of different resources you can get. There are just so many different resources and different upgradable things you can upgrade into better and better resources to then sell off to get more money or more points, depending on what you're doing with those resources. Here's kind of a shot of the player boards here. As you can see here, there are like 16 different basic actions that you can do. Everything from exploring the map or discovering a new resource or transporting a resource from the main board onto your personal player board. You are taking technology cards and placing them above your board to get different technologies and to get better actions with that, get victory points with that. There are just so many different things you can do in this game. It is just incredible the way it works. So much fun. Like I said, a lot going on. All the different 16 actions, or at least 15 out of the 16 of them, are upgradable. So there are different actions you can take to upgrade your actions to be better and more unique than the other players around the table. So I just like that sandbox nature where you can just really kind of pull different levers, see what happens. You can go off and explore and do your own thing, or you can stay with the pack and try to compete over different areas. And it's kind of hard for me to really describe what exactly style of game this is, other than just, here is the world is your oyster, and do what you will to try to get the most points you can. So kind of a bad explanation, but that is pretty much what's going on in this game. Like in true Stefan Feld, you've got tracks that you're going up to try to get victory points and try to get, different bonus actions with those as well. But you've got tracks and exploration and resources and just a bunch of good stuff in this game. If you like real heavy strategic Euro games with a lot of open ends and decisions you can make, it's just a ton of fun. And this is definitely another one that takes a couple plays to really truly grasp how great of a game it really is. So I know for the first play or two, it didn't really sing as well as it has now. Now that I've played it a good 5-6 times, this game has just gotten better with each time we've played the game. So yeah, as you become more familiar, it just gets more and more fun. Definitely worth a try. If you like any other Stefan Feld game, or if you like heavier Euro-style games, this game cannot be overlooked. So that is Civolution. So that pretty much wraps it up for today's video. Leave in the comments section below what your favorite games you've played so far in the year 2025. It always intrigues me to see what other gamers have been playing lately, so definitely don't shy away from leaving those comments down below, and we can talk about those as they come up. So until next time, you all have a great day and have fun gaming.